Titans Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Well, hello again, everybody. Did an open play?
Yeah, can you? Oh, my bad. You're good now.
Oh, so it was not my fault that I sat there like a dope.
No, it was not.
Okay. We'll discuss that with Kelly. Hello again, everybody. Welcome in 2 days before the blizzard of 2025. We're at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue getting ready for a lot of fun and frivolity and a Titans State of the Union beginning at 3:40, which is never a good sign for the team whose name is behind it. Let's say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, your thoughts on the beginning of the show?
I don't know. I can't get over. Are you going to a Harvard-Yale game today?
You don't like this shirt?
It just seems Ivy League-ish to me. I don't know.
Okay.
That's the only thing I was thinking about when you started the show, and I didn't even hear what you said.
Okay. Well, I never heard the intro because Billy didn't have it on.
Oh, that's Billy's fault. Oh, it's another $100 fine.
Another $100.
Hey, we get to go to Kane Prime or something with all this $100 fine stuff that Billy's getting.
I'd rather go to Maui. Nothing against Kane Prime, but I mean, as many times as you find him, surely to God, it's like the national debt at this point.
Correct.
So, Billy, how are you today?
I'm good.
Well, that's wonderful.
Better than the Titans organization?
Or as some are calling it, Backstab Central.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of hat we got on, Billy?
Well, Preds action.
Oh, a little Preds action. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Is that free?
No, I actually bought this at a Preds game.
Really?
But discounted.
It was discounted. I was about to say there was 80% off.
Were the tickets that you used free?
Yes.
Figures.
Oh, wow,
Okay.
George. Section 300, I'm sure.
It might have been 304, row 1, if we're not careful. Okay, Billy, now with no daily Titans update, I would assume that you have more time for an update, which I would assume would make it better, but I don't know.
Let's don't assume, George.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think it's solid today. Serviceable update today.
Serviceable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Well, the wildfires continue to devastate several areas across Los Angeles, causing thousands to evacuate and impacting the air quality. And the NFL is monitoring those ahead of the Vikings and Rams. So that is in danger of either not being played or being pushed back. I don't know that they would definitely probably push it back.
How do you push it back when it's a Monday night game and you've got playoff games scheduled the next week on Saturday and Sunday?
That's a good point. It's already the later scheduled game on that Monday. So I think if anything, you hope that everything's okay. It is at SoFi Stadium indoors.
Yeah. It's hard to believe, though, that it's going to be okay when you see what that look is.
Yeah,
Holy
at least.
cow.
The pictures are awful. At least 70,000 people were ordered to evacuate, which is unbelievable. The Rams, who have a scheduled day off today, they're scheduled to get back to practice tomorrow, but up in the air whether or not that game will be played. And the NHL postponed the Kings.
Hold on a second. Haven't they moved a game at some point to Arizona when something like that happened in the regular season?
I think
several years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I remember I had to play when I was still playing, we had to play the Saints in San Antonio because of the hurricane.
Right. Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NHL postponed the Kings home game against the Flames tonight, obviously with the wildfires. The NBA's Lakers are scheduled to play the Hornets in that same arena tomorrow night, and we'll see if that gets played. So
yeah, it doesn't feel like it would.
Also, some rumors out there that the Raiders have reached out to Bill Belichick about their opening, but Belichick has come out and said he has no plans to leave North Carolina, which is interesting. We talked about that.
Yeah, he doesn't really have. I mean, at this point, he doesn't have much choice
And
in the deal.
guess who has a minority ownership stake in the Raiders?
Tom Brady.
Yes.
Correct.
And there's also some rumors out there that Brady may, because he has a big say in this, may try to go after Vrabel.
Oh, I can see that. So I'll give you one more. Before the University of North Carolina settled on Bill Belichick, they had somebody else who was going to take the job and then backed out of it. North Carolina grad Arthur Smith.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. He
I
backed
think
out.
I would think Arthur would have had kind of a built-in NIL fund.
Yeah, you can say that again.
You think?
Has he? He hasn't
Yes.
coached in college, has he?
No, but he went to North Carolina, and clearly there is FedEx money in the family.
Clearly.
And,
On that topic, I know we've talked about this a lot, but NIL is starting to really run everything, and I know
starting,
or it has, and I realized that over time that the SEC, like the only SEC team in the playoff right now is Texas, and it's their first year. Like I think we're going to start seeing some of these. Like how much money does Alabama have? We know Tennessee's got money, but how does it compare to Ohio State? So do the programs that are way down the pecking order, despite having maybe a good coach or a good quarterback, do they have any shot at winning?
So what are we right now? Are we at year 3 of NIL?
3 to 4. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, there is going to become voter fatigue.
Yes.
Buyers fatigue. Where
there's already watchers fatigue from me.
Well, okay, it doesn't appear to have affected, Kelly, the numbers of people who enjoy the product. But clearly, a lot of those people do not want to know how the sausage is made. Would you buy that?
No, at 100%.
They don't want to hear it.
They don't care.
Right.
They do not care.
I think that what is going to happen, in particular when a program underachieves in a certain year, could be Ole Miss. They were hotty-toddy that they were getting in the playoffs. Well, they didn't. Does that result in now, a year later, their fan base saying, not going to, it's easy to want to give money when you're certain it leads to championships. But Kelly, when it doesn't, then what?
I don't know. I'm like you. I think people are going to get tired of that, and I think it's going to fall on the consumer at some point. Tennessee's already doing it with ticket prices, so they're going to figure out some way. Every school is going to do it where they don't have to go back to the same donor over and over and over. Because if I was a donor, and just like you said, if I'm not seeing something come about with the money that I gave you, I'm not doing it anymore.
Well, speaking of money, obviously we talked about Notre Dame getting the entirety of the $12 million that goes to the conference, overall conferences as a whole. And Penn State head coach James Franklin said today that the game against Notre Dame is about representing our schools and our conferences. And then he caught himself realizing that Coach Freeman was sitting just to his right. And Franklin said, or our conference, excuse me.
What he could have done was said, oh, y'all aren't in a conference.
And then he proceeded to say, it should be consistent across college football. This is no knock at Freeman or Notre Dame, but I think everybody should be in a conference. I think everybody should play a conference championship game, or nobody should play a conference championship game.
Okay, I'll ask this question. Kelly, why is this a fight that Franklin is willing to champion? What does he
Because
benefit?
he's got to play Ohio State and Michigan and lose every year.
Yeah, that's a big reason.
I mean,
that's a big reason.
Yeah,
because he can't beat Ohio State, and I guarantee you this: if they do beat Billy's guys, he does not want to play Ohio State.
No.
I don't think anybody does right now.
No, I would assume that Marcus Freeman would take Franklin's words and go into his locker room and start their coach disrespected us. You know, why do you open?
Yeah, this is pretty stupid by Franklin.
Why do you open that?
Well, he's got a loud mouth, so
he's just running his mouth, and I don't know. He just he wrote some checks that probably he can't pay for on that end. I don't know. He's always been that way though. But you know what? I think he's to the point where when he was at Vanderbilt, any publicity is good publicity, whether it's good or bad. He doesn't care. So maybe he likes being in the spotlight, George.
Speaking of Vanderbilt, last night lost to Mississippi State 76-64.
That is a really good basketball team. They guarded the crap out of Vandy.
They did.
And I don't know where their season's going. For all I know at this point, they may be middle of the road SEC. But, man, I was impressed.
They're big. They're long. They're physical. I mean, they're kind of the prototype SEC team. Meanwhile, Tennessee, this is a historically bad loss by Tennessee in their program and by the number one team. And there's some interesting numbers with it. They lose to Florida 73-43. I saw where it's the worst loss by the number one ranked team since like 1968 to lose by 30. And they only made 12 shots.
Yeah, they didn't get anything done.
They were 1 of 24 from 3 at some point.
But it is one loss.
Yeah.
It's the same loss as Kentucky going to Georgia, as Vandy losing here to Mississippi State. I got news for everybody. Nobody is going to just waltz through this NBA South that the SEC has become and just flitter through this. I can't imagine a scenario where the winner of the regular season loses less than 3 or 4. I can't see it.
Yeah. And you could get it at 8-10. If you finish 8-10 in the SEC, you're probably in the tournament.
Right. The question might become my 7-11 theory.
That could be true. Depends on who you beat.
Courtesy of my buddy Dane Bradshaw.
He's good at what he does. But yeah, Georgia beats Kentucky 82-69. Auburn held on late to beat Texas 87-82. And tonight, Alabama is at South Carolina, Ole Miss at Arkansas, A&M at Oklahoma in the SEC.
A&M at Oklahoma. That's some old Southwest Conference kind of feel.
It's still weird. It wasn't as weird in football seeing Texas and Oklahoma, but in basketball, like watching the Texas game, seeing SEC on their court is still weird to me.
Well,
George, was Billy? Yeah, it just means more. But was Billy around during the Southwest Conference?
I don't think so.
No.
I'll say
you don't even know what the Southwest Conference was, do you, Billy?
It was Arkansas, Oklahoma.
The S in Southwest Conference stood for money, as in we cheat.
SMU?
Oh, you talk about, well, it wasn't just SMU. Look, they're the one that got nailed the worst. They are far from the only guilty party.
That oil money.
J.R. Ewing wannabes.
Preds lose last night in Winnipeg, and they're headed back home from a big, long trip in Canada to play the Capitals.
The Preds are the beneficiary right now of this Titan dumpster fire.
Yeah, nobody's
paying any
attention to the Preds right
to the fact that the Preds haven't exactly smoked it.
I don't think these two teams have ever been worse off at the same time.
Bad year.
But that's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Kelly, how do we grade it? We gave him a little extra airtime. Seems like he had been lobbying for that.
It's a strong B. It's a strong B.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I think the Belichick story we could have gone a little further with.
For
instance, when reached by Brady to become the Raider coach, he said, "We're on to Cincinnati."
We're on to Wake Forest.
Yeah. You can see that, can't you? Okay. After the break, Mike Organ. Then let me tell you how we're going to do this award-winning State of the Union. Terry McCormick will join us at 3:40. A lot of what I'm going to get into with Terry will involve salary cap. Whoever it is that's going to spend this money, what is it and where's it going? Then we'll get into the quarterback situation and what these guys think ought to happen. And then at 4:15, Derrick Mason will join us, and we'll get into the culture of backstabbing, because that right now at the Titans, when you talk about culture, their culture is backstabbing. If you look over the last 3 or 4 years, what else can you say? A lot of backstabbing going on in that building. And it's not healthy and it's not good. And somebody better fix it soon. We will begin your Titan phone calls for the panel right at 4:25. 4:25, be ready to hit the button and get moving.
We'll dial-ups.
Or as my Spanish teacher used to say, get the moving. This is 94.9, The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hey, it's Jake Lyman. Vandy women's basketball is on the road for the first time in SEC play, facing Ole Miss in Oxford on Thursday night. I'll have the call pregame at 6:15.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we're back. Apparently, that women's game that you heard the promo about with the weather has just been changed to a 5 o'clock start tomorrow. So make a note of that as we say hello to the hardest working man in Nashville sports. That's Mike Organ from the Tennessean. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, George. Just sitting here plugging away, being the hardest working sports writer in Nashville.
I mean, it's really, that's a lot of pressure on you.
I love that tag, especially since I've been at it this long. To still be working that hard is something I didn't expect.
You and me both. So the business of covering sports has changed dramatically in recent years, no more so than in newspapers. Give me some stats, some stuff about how readers consumed the whole Rand Carthon getting the boot.
Well, George, as you know, we're as sports writers, journalists, editors, we're not fans of any team, but we love for there to be interest in the teams that we cover and follow. And unfortunately, there wasn't much interest in the Tennessee Titans over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. There was some interest early on because the Titans generated that interest by telling us how good they were going to be this year under a new first-year head coach, second-year quarterback. They drummed up a lot of interest. Well, that interest waned toward the end of the season when we found out that wasn't going to be the case, that they were on their way to becoming the worst team in the NFL. But one of the things that I've always said, having covered Vanderbilt for 10 years, is you want one of two things to happen to your team that you cover. You either want it to be the best team that's out there or the worst team, because there's interest in good and bad. There's not a lot of interest in mediocrity. The Titans have been kind of mediocre up until this season. But to finish the season dead last kind of gets your juices going as a journalist, as a sports writer, because one, they're going to get the number one draft pick. So that means between now and April, you can write about that and all the great speculation that goes into that, which seldom ever becomes true, but you can write about it and talk about it. And two, you can talk about why they're so bad and just how horrifically bad they are and the people they fire to try to make things better. And, of course, that started 2 days after the season ended with the firing of Rand Carthon, who appears to have taken on the role as the scapegoat in this situation in particular. I'm not saying that he did anything to mean that he should have kept his job, but for him to be the only one that goes, if that ends up being the case, and I haven't checked the wire in the last 10 or 15 minutes, so I don't know if anybody else has been fired from out there, but that's kind of interesting in itself. And whoever replaces him, the role that person has, the duty that person has is going to be very interesting, because is Chad Brinker now the general manager, and is the new guy going to be an assistant to Chad, or how is that all going to fall out? So maybe I'll use too much to word salad to answer your question, George, but that's kind of today's world and where we stand. If you're not going to cover the best team, you want to cover the worst team.
Mike, it appears to me, and I want to get your opinion about this. One of the things that seems to be happening, because now we've had 3 or 4 different instances of this, the culture of the Amy Adams Strunk Titans building is a backstab culture, because now we've seen too many examples where one person goes to her, appears to get the other one fired. then they're the new flavor of the month. Then a year later, they get fired, on and on and on. Isn't that going to become sort of the discussion point that this can't continue?
Yeah, I think, from the outside looking in, and that's all we can do because they keep such a tight ship over there. And, the general manager only has, 2 or 3 news conferences a year. The owner only steps up to select media once or twice a year, other than, form press releases, statements. So all we can do is observe, and you're exactly right. What is easy to observe is that when you get a job in that structure, you need to do 2 things. You need to try to do your job to appease the fans and to be successful, but you, at the same time, you need to be snuggling up to somebody over there. And if you can't get to Amy because she doesn't live here, then you need to snuggle up to her, her future son-in-law that's now chief of staff, or to Chad Brinker, who has gone from being hired by a general manager that got fired to being president of football, or Bert Nihill, who also is the president. I don't know how you have 2 presidents, but they seem to have that. So yeah, you need to snuggle up and get you an alliance over there. It looks like, to survive.
Just out of curiosity, in the consuming of media these days in Nashville, Tennessee, this used to be a great college basketball city. For y'all's purposes, where does it compare to football?
Well, and hopefully hopefully last night was a blip on the radar, but when Tennessee and Vanderbilt are both very good, and it looked like we were on our way to that happening this year, because Vanderbilt had 1 loss and Tennessee was the number 1 team in the nation. Basketball can hold a candle to football. Now I have to say, this football season, our readership was out the roof for both of those teams. Tennessee, getting to the playoff, kind of wavering all through the season, looking like people couldn't figure them out. The interest was tremendous. Vanderbilt was absolutely phenomenal with what Clark Lee did there this year. To go 7, to have a winning record, to win a bowl game, it was great. So, make no illusions. Basketball is not going to be what football is when football is good like that. But if those 2 teams are good, and like I said, we're still keeping our fingers crossed that they will be good. Basketball still hangs in there pretty good. And again, to be the number 1 team in the country, like Tennessee was, they're not going to be anymore after that drumming they took last night. That makes a difference. Anytime you've got the best at anything, that's going to draw interest. The city colleges, George, the schools that you and I love, grew up, love going to watch, the Belmonts and the Lipscombs, they need to be special. Lipscomb this year has a player, Jacob Osinovic, who's, I'm going to go see him tomorrow night, who might be one of the best players in the state. He's a 6'8" forward, set out last year with an injury. He's a tremendous player, and he's got Lipscomb in the top. I think they're at 70 right now in the net, which is the highest they've ever been in program history. So the smaller colleges, mid-majors have to have something special like that to really draw any interest.
Kelly, say hello to Mike Organ.
Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kelly. I'm almost as good as I was 2 hours ago when I saw you at lunch.
So I'm going to ask this, and I said this yesterday, and I've said this before, but I want to know what your feelings are, because sometimes owners in professional sports, they talk a good game and they talk like they want to win, but really when it boils down to it, it's a bottom line business for them and they're trying to make money. They could care less whether you win or lose. I've been around people like that. Now they say that they do, and I know that they want to. It's a little bit of pride. I mean, I understand that, but still, when it boils down to it, it's a bottom line business. But I've told George and Billy and everybody out there listening that when I came down here and when I was playing, the Titans were tough. They had Steve McNair, Eddie George, Javon Kerr, all those guys that everybody knows. Blaine Bishop. What has gone wrong? Is the owner? I mean, is she? She's not her dad, obviously, but is she more about the bottom line, or do you think she's more about winning? Which one is it? Because right now they're not doing the winning part is just I've never been around, and I've been in bad organization with Cleveland, but like there's been no quarterback. I said it yesterday since Steve McNair, and like who is calling the shots over there because it's so bad right now. I just don't understand how it's gotten this way.
Kelly, I think the big thing, how much do any of these owners know about football? And especially these owners, well, I mean, they have so many other businesses they're involved in, so many other things they have going on that they're wise to hire somebody they completely trust, like Bud did with Steve Underwood. A guy that's, that knows it all, is sharp, is an attorney, and knows football on top of everything else. And unfortunately for Amy, and Amy had Steve there at the early part of her tenure, but unfortunately for Amy, Steve retired and she hasn't had that person to lean on, unfortunately. Now, whose fault is that? Is that Amy's fault for not hiring somebody? Yeah, I think it is. I mean, there's got to be somebody out there. When you have endless resources like she does, then you should be able to find somebody to hire to lean on. And I don't think she has that. And I think that ever since we've seen, since the firing of John Robinson, I think we've seen that. I think there's no doubt that she wants to win. You mentioned that early on in your comment. She wants to win or she wouldn't keep firing people. But she just keeps pushing the panic button over and over, and it's not changing anything because I don't think she has anybody to lean on that knows what this team needs, what this program needs, and what she needs to do.
So Mike, what do you think about? And I said this today in our NFF meeting. I was talking to Steve Hutchinson, and I was asking him, what do you think about the college football playoffs? Because to me, yeah, I'm kind of a traditionalist. I mean, they're going to have to make some changes to it. We obviously know that. Maybe they start earlier. But right now, when you get this time of year, I'm looking forward to the NFL playoffs. And now we still got 2 games left, or 3 games left, actually, in the college football playoff. And are you – I mean, are you still excited as you were? Because I think everybody was excited about the 12-team playoff. But are you still excited as you were when it began?
In all honesty, I'm not, Kelly. And I think a lot of that has to do with it's hard to be excited about 2 big entities like that going on at the same time. When it was the 4-team, when it was the bowl system, you could get excited about the start of the NFL playoffs, but they were just, you weren't extremely excited about it, but you were excited about college football. And when they're both going on at the same time and almost at the same pace, I mean, we still got 2 more games, like you said, left in this college playoff. I think it's kind of backfired on them. I talk to people and I say, are you going to watch the college playoff game, the semifinals this week? And they go, yeah, when are they? Are they, this weekend, or when are they? The people don't know. They're Thursday night. They're Notre Dame playing Penn State Thursday night. I mean, I think that's something they didn't count on, was that you've got these 2 entities competing against each other, and it's hard to stay excited about both of them. Now, if you're purely a college person, then no, obviously. And there are people like that. As you know, there are people that don't pay a lick of attention to the pros, and there's some that don't pay any attention to colleges. So for those people, maybe it's no different. But if you are like those people, like you and I are, and try to pay attention to both, I don't think it's not easy to do. And I think it's taken away some of the grandeur from the college game.
I really do too. So my last thing, what is so with the ineptitude of the Tennessee Titans this year, what do you do with the first pick?
I think I traded. One player can't fix this team, and especially in this draft where there's not one player good enough to do it. You got a couple of quarterbacks, maybe three, that could be players down the line if they can sit for 2 or 3 years, like they did. And, they had the opportunity in your day when you could, come in and not be counted on to play right away. But the Titans can't do that. They need a bridge quarterback to do that with. And I don't know who that is. I guess there's a few out there, a Derek Carr or a Sam Darnold, somebody like that. But I just don't like either of the top two quarterbacks, Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, to bring them in and develop them. This team hasn't proven it can develop any position, and especially a quarterback. So I think you trade that top pick and you try to get as many picks as you can and improve the overall team. You build that right side of the line, which has that's the basis of all the problems, Kelly. We know that. We've known that, and they haven't fixed it. So I think you do what it takes to fix that and load up on some other players that you need at other positions, and then get you a quarterback in the offseason to serve as that bridge quarterback.
Mike, appreciate it as always. Continue to be the hardest working man in Nashville sports.
All right, George, I'm going back to work. I appreciate it. Enjoyed being with you.
File a report at 1 a.m. Let us know that you're continuing to work. Sleep is optional.
Will do.
Talk to you.
Keep an eye. All right, bye.
Okay. Let me kind of run through what's about to happen. After we go to the break, we will begin the Titans State of the Union. If you're looking for warm and fuzzy, you might want to turn it somewhere else. This is not going to be. But we're going to get into the issues that are going on. When Terry McCormick joins us after the break, we'll get into salary cap. What does it mean? Who could they go after? Those kind of things. Then we'll shift into the quarterback world and kind of pick both Terry and Kelly's brains on what should they try to do a year from now at quarterback. Derrick Mason will join us at 4:15. I'll center in on what I now think is a huge problem, and that is that building is backstab central. It is obvious now. We've got enough evidence of what's been going on over the last 3 or 4 years. It's a culture of backstabbing, and that's the culture that she has fostered, whether she realizes it or not. At 4:25, we'll open the phones for your Titans questions for the panel. We'll go to the break. This is 94.9 The Fan.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back, and we now officially begin our Titan State of the Union. I'll tell you up front, if you're looking for Titan happy talk, forget it. It ain't happening. Not with some of the events that have been going on over the last 12 to 18 months. Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, TitanInsider.com, joining us to get all of this started. So, Terry, we've got this dumpster fire, but the Titans also have the first pick in the draft. A lot of people have assumed with all the free agent money that they spent a year ago that they would not have salary cap benefit this season. Tell us exactly where that does stand.
Well, George, according to SpotTrack.com, which kind of keeps up with a lot of that, they have a little over $67 million available coming to them in the cap space for next season. And in case you're wondering where that ranks, that is ninth most. And also among their free agents, they have 22 total free agents, 13 of whom are unrestricted, and about 3 to 4 of those whom you'd have interest in keeping. The ones you'd have interest in keeping are Nick Folk, the kicker, who says he still wants to play. Morgan Cox, your long snapper, who is as good as there is in the business. Nick Westbrook-Akine, who had a breakout season at wide receiver this year, and then perhaps Sebastian Joseph Day or James Lynch might be a good idea to keep one of those two as some defensive line depth. A couple of restricted guys that you certainly would want to pay attention to would be Ryan Stonehouse, the punter, and Darrell Baker, who did pretty good work filling in at cornerback and looks like a chance to be at least good depth moving forward. So those are the guys that probably, in my opinion, should be a priority to retain. You maybe can throw Daniel Brunskill in there, but you can pretty much find backup centers and guards, wherever you look. So, if they want Brunskill because of the familiarity with him, they can do so. If not, they can find somebody else probably a little younger and a little cheaper to fill that spot.
Terry, did I hear, help me, was it 65 or 67 million?
A little over 67 million.
Okay.
Maybe 67.5 or something like that, 67.2, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Realistically, not that free agency has been a huge help to them, but they've got enough needs. Surely to God, something positive can come. From 67 million, what should you be able to go get?
Well, I think you should be able to go get, 3 to 4 frontline players who can become immediate starters on a team that needs help. And then you go sign, 3 or 4 depth pieces, a little later on in free agency, probably after the draft, because you need some guys who can improve special teams, but you also need some depth guys who can fill in when injuries come, especially on the offensive line, linebacker, and safety, where they are, really thin by the end of the year.
So as you try to weave your way through this mess, and it is a mess, what stuff would you prioritize to try to go get in free agency as opposed to saying, well, we'll take care of that in the draft?
Well, I think it depends on first which way you want to go in the draft. If you're sold on one of these quarterbacks, if you're sold on Shedeur Sanders or you're sold on Cam Ward, then by all means take him with the first pick and, don't look back. I personally, think that they're both kind of developmental players. I don't know that they're going to make you good right out of the gate, especially with all the other holes that are on the roster. I think ideally trade back and then go find a quarterback in free agency, a bridge guy who can come in and be your starter, or at the very least, be 1A, 1B with Will Levis going into camp, and let them battle it out to see which one, ends up as the starter. That way you can, have 10 picks or so. You got 8 right now. You need probably 10 picks to help fill out this roster and get enough prospects to get this thing back on the right road. I think, other places you can look at, you can sign cheap free agents at non-premium positions would be what I would go for, because I think you need to use your draft capital on premium positions. And by that, I say offensive tackle. I'm going to rule quarterback out if they don't use the pick on a quarterback. I'll say offensive tackle, cover corners, which actually is a position where they don't really have a lot of need this year. Edge rusher for sure. I think that might be my top priority alongside right tackle, and a difference-making wide receiver. Those are things I would look for in the draft. The other positions, the non-premium positions, which won't cost you as much, centers, guards, depth players, inside linebackers, any running backs or safeties that you might need, tight ends. You can get some of that in free agency or with third-day picks, but save those first 2 or 3 rounds for premium position players. And I think you have to wait and see what the quarterback market is going to look like in free agency. Do you want to try to rehab somebody, like a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson or somebody, the way that, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold have resurrected their careers? Or do you want something a little more sure that may have a little more tread off the tires, like a Kirk Cousins or a Derek Carr? Derek Carr would make some sense because he has worked with Brian Callahan before. He wouldn't break the bank on a deal, and he could come in here, steady the ship for a little while until you could find a longer-term solution. I think when you look at, Darnold, he's going to cost big money. And if you sign Sam Darnold, the money it's going to take to cost him, this is assuming that Minnesota lets him walk, the money it's going to take him, I think you're committed to him for the next 3 to 4 years the same way you would have been Ryan Tannehill. He's not going to be a 1 year and out the gate or 2 years and out the gate guy like a Cousins or a Carr would be.
Okay, before we get knee deep to the quarterback thing, Kelly, you and or Billy, anything in the salary cap world you all want to throw out there?
Well, I just wanted to ask, and if it's me, I like what Terry talked about. If it's me, I'm probably going after Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is kind of a younger guy. You look at Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is kind of getting up there, and he's starting to show his age a little bit, especially when he had that Achilles deal in Minnesota. And then this past year, he started out hot, but then Father Time catches up with us all. So I'm going after Derek Carr. But I want to ask you this, Terry. Did Nick Westbrook-Akine do enough to keep himself on this team and to garner some pretty good money? Because I've always liked him. He's kind of one of those guys that was kind of in my situation. You had to just keep knocking on the door, and finally you push through. And I think the guy can play. I really do. I think he's one of those guys that always makes the play when he has to. And do you think he did enough this year?
Oh, absolutely he did. He did more than enough, Kelly. I think once he finally got his opportunity, he showed them that, he can be counted on because he was consistently in the right place at the right time and made the plays most of the time when his number was called. The thing that I worry about now, and I think he'd be a great number 3 receiver. I think he's really suited to be that third guy that comes in, maybe not necessarily play the slot, which he could do, but be that third guy that comes in and then maybe helps you out a little bit on special teams where you need it, because he's a great special teams player too. But the thing that I worry about here is this. Has he priced himself out of your range for what you're willing to pay for a third receiver? Somebody may come along, see those 9 touchdown catches that he had, and give him more than what you're willing to give him. And if that's the case, then you're looking for 2 wide receivers and not 1.
Free agency, man. That's what free market's about.
Absolutely.
Terry, how much would Derek Carr cost, you think?
How much would Derek Carr cost? Probably a middle of the pack type of quarterback salary if he's cut by the Saints, which I think he probably will be if they're going to go through a full rebuild like has been rumored down there. The quarterback market is outrageous. It's what about the going price is about $40 million. I would think Derek Carr would probably be in the 20 to 25 million, if that, in terms of what you'd pay for him for a year or so.
So if you bring Carr in, that subtract 20 from the 67 you said, after that,
it's not necessarily that. You can structure the deal, and Kelly knows about this. You can structure the deal in a way where you can make the bigger part of the hit on the back end of the deal. Yeah. And maybe that deal is structured in a way where there's an out because of a roster bonus or some sort of signing bonus in the 3rd year, and you can walk away from it in 2 years so as not to just, use all of your salary cap money on a bridge quarterback.
When you see those, you have to look at the details. When you see a $150 million contract, well, a lot of it's backloaded. What Terry's talking about, they're going to get $80 million in the last 2 years. They'll never see that. Nobody will ever see that, but nobody understands that. They're trying to get all the money up front, Billy. That's what these contracts in the NFL. If you can get a sign-in bonus, a huge sign-in bonus, that's really what you want, and then they can do whatever they want to the contract.
A huge signing bonus, or as big a signing bonus as you can get, and then a guaranteed base for a year or 2. That's what you're looking for.
Go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
And like Kelly was talking about, the only guys who ever see the $80 million backloaded at the end are the Patrick Mahomeses and Joe Burrows of the world. And generally, those contracts are even redone so that money's converted to signing bonuses.
That's right.
Okay. After the break, we'll get stat of the day. Terry, even though you didn't know this, we're going to dump it on you. You'll be very responsible for this.
Is it gonna be hockey or NBA?
I don't know. It could be squash for all I know. Whatever the case, we'll do that. Then we'll get knee deep into the quarterback thing. We'll spend about 10 minutes on that. Then we'll go to another break, and we'll get Derrick Mason, former Titan wide receiver, to join us. And then I'm going to zero in on what I now think is a big piece of the cultural problem of the Titans. And that is It has become Backstab Central. This is 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Luxurious and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
In my mind, aliens don't walk.
What do? Fly?
Yeah,
they hover?
like, they're hovering.
They do the rock away.
Yeah.
Lean back. Lean back. Now, if I did that, I'd have to jar it.
I don't know. I just don't picture them
so
walking
they just hover.
I don't think they exist. I think aliens exist.
I can't believe you said that, Evan.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Sometimes your franchise is not in position where you can develop a franchise quarterback properly. That is the New York Giants right now. If there was ever a team to be the poster child for that statement, it is the New York Giants. They need to go out and get a stopgap, somebody like Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, somebody of that ilk, and let them be the quarterback for the 2025 season.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9 The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Titans State of the Union rolling on after Stat of the Day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. Terry, you're in luck. Tennessee hoops. Same question as yesterday. Well, similar question yesterday. Tennessee lost by 30 last night, the worst loss under Rick Barnes since the Vols lost to which SEC team by 28 back in 2022?
Ooh.
Name that team.
I remember they got waxed a couple of times that year, even though they were pretty good.
Yeah, this was a big road loss to an SEC team a couple of years ago.
It definitely was not Rupp. It was
Was
not
it Arkansas? Was it Arkansas?
No.
Huh. All right.
Terry?
There goes my answer.
It would have been, football got done in a few years ago by South Carolina. Wasn't them, was it?
I think it was Auburn.
Auburn.
What do we got?
It is Kentucky.
It is Kentucky.
Oh,
really?
George throwing us off the trail immediately.
Yeah, he did. That was my first
gosh.
guess, but
That was
then
my
when
first
George said
instinct.
that, yeah, because George is, we think smart about this, but sometimes not so much.
Right. When you get put on the griddle on a daily basis, you can lose some lug.
You get a couple of burn marks.
Yeah, you can lose some lug nuts in the process.
George,
So-
you can blame it on a senior moment.
Oh no, I'm not going there. I just think it's a moment. Period. Anyway, we are now officially into the 4:00 hour, which I know you all breathlessly await. Our continuing coverage of the Titans' State of the Union. Terry McCormick, Main Street Media.
Do we need to start a telethon?
No. Titan, no, hell no. TitanInsider.com. By the way, at 4:15, former Titans wide receiver Derrick Mason will join us as well. So let me ask both of y'all. The Falcons a year ago caught a lot of heat. They'd already signed Kirk Cousins, and then they draft Michael Penix. All of a sudden, seems like a pretty smart move. Should the Titans follow that blueprint?
It's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, because I thought the Falcons were crazy at the time to do that, but it turned out to be a brilliant move. They were playing chess when other people were playing checkers because Penix has looked kind of like the real deal in the couple of games he's played in. And, Cousins, I don't know if he's on the downside and getting close to being done because he's, the same age as Ryan Tannehill and same age as, same draft class as Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III, who are long gone, or if he's just needed a little bit more time coming off that Achilles injury. So, but either way, he's going to be available, and it's very possible, and it might be even more possible if they're interested in Cousins, that if they do one of those, Russell Wilson type of deals where Denver's paying the bulk of the freight because of having cut him. The Falcons are going to pay the bulk of the freight on Kirk Cousins. All the Titans would be on the hook for would be the veteran minimum or whatever they can get him to agree to take, which would be deducted from what the Falcons owe him.
Perry, are you sold on any of these quarterbacks though in the draft? Are you sold on them?
Well, I mean, I'll admit I'm not a draftnik, so to speak. I'm not one of these guys that's, combing through Pro Football Focus or watching a lot of film to see, how well these guys perform against a cover 3 zone or anything like that. But honestly, I'm not sold. And here's why. I'm not sold on Shedeur Sanders because I don't know that the Big 12 competition that he faced this year was all that strong. I know he put up great numbers and he showed some playmaking ability, but BYU, which was the second best team in that conference, got after him pretty good in the bowl game. Personally, I like Cam Ward better because I think he has a stronger arm and a higher ceiling. And the other thing that I like about Cam Ward, even though I still think he's a project too, is that he's kind of a self-made guy. And by saying that, he was a no-star recruit out of high school. He went to Incarnate Word, of all places, and spent a couple of years there, excelled, got noticed, got in the portal, went to Washington State, did well there, went to Miami, did well there. So every time he stepped up a little bit in competition, he's performed just as well or better. And if I was going to be sold on one of these two guys, I think I'd be more in the Cam Ward camp than the Shedeur Sanders camp, even though a lot of people will tell you that Sanders is a better fit for Brian Callahan's short to intermediate pass game offense.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So George, I'm not totally sold. I don't know. This is a tough situation that the Titans are in right now because they still. I've always said I don't think he's the guy, Will Levis. I really don't. I think when everything's laid out there for him and he can set his foot and he can throw the ball, he can. We've already talked about it. He can throw it through a wall, but his decision making is when he has to do something. That's what makes the difference in the good quarterbacks and the great quarterbacks. What do they do when things mess up? And I just don't think he's there. So I think you got to get a bridge quarterback somewhere. That's why I like Derek Carr, but I just don't know if this is the draft to pick up somebody like that. I'm just not sure of it. And I don't know if next year is either. I hadn't even looked at that, but I just like Jalen Milroe. You got the Nussmeier kid from LSU. I'm kind of with Terry on the Cam Ward kid. Now, I don't like what he did in the bowl game. I'll be honest with that. That's a red flag to me, but the guy's been through some adversity because nobody wanted him, as Terry said, and he had to go to a small school just like myself, and he had to work his way up. I do like that about him, but I don't like what happened in that bowl game, and I'm sure that he and the coach talked about it. That's just a red flag to me. Like, I couldn't do that as a person, as a human being, as a guy that's been on a team that we're in a bowl game. We're not in the top 12, but we're in a bowl game. I've fought with these guys. We've gone to dinner with these guys. I just couldn't do that. So I don't know where to go with that, George, but it's a big decision that they got to make. But like I said yesterday, they haven't had a great quarterback since Steve McNair. Tannehill was okay, but Steve McNair was he's up on that pedestal, and that's why people in Nashville love him. But they have not. The people that are in there judging the quarterback position has not hit yet since I can remember, other than Steve McNair.
So let me ask both of you. Let me ask both of you this: Kenny Pickett is the closest example I can come up with to where the Will Levis thing is here. Much ballyhooed. The Steelers gave it 2 years and came to an organizational decision that he ain't it. And they got rid of him. He's in Philly, and who knows, he may start the playoff game Sunday against Green Bay. Terry, would the Titans be better off simply shipping Will Levis out? And for all parties, would that be beneficial?
It might be better for Levis, to get a fresh start somewhere. But if I'm the Titans, I don't do it. And here's why. Because if you go out and you get a bridge quarterback, there's nothing that says you can't have Will Levis, who is under contract for 2 years, be the backup and learn and maybe get better at some point. Because the last thing I would want to do if I'm the Titans, because this guy does have some ability, like Kelly said. He's having trouble. He's a little late processing a lot of times, and I think that's what causes a lot of the interceptions. But I think if he can improve that, the last thing you'd want if you're the Titans is to trade him off somewhere for a 6th-round pick that you use on a special teams linebacker, and then all of a sudden he figures it out for somebody else and starts looking like Baker Mayfield. To me, I keep him and I hedge my bet with a bridge quarterback.
Okay, let me ask this question. When the Titans had that scenario, Tannehill, the veteran, being taught, teaching Will Levis, in other words, the teacher and the pupil, truthfully, was there much of that really going on?
I think there was probably just, kind of the normal stuff that goes on. I don't think, Tannehill, I don't think was interested in being Professor Tannehill, because his interest was in starting and trying to, get this team as many wins as he can. Because you remember, George, he wasn't benched because they thought he was playing poorly. He was benched because he was injured. And then Levis had the splashy debut against the Falcons, and it kind of forced their hand to keep him in the lineup. So I think Tannehill may have been a little put off by that. I mean, who wouldn't be? Kelly, you've been in those situations before, where, it's a battle in the quarterback room, and only one guy is truly happy, and that's the one that's playing. And so the other guys have to, and even Levis learned that lesson this year. If you're not the guy that's playing, you better put on a happy face and, grin and bear it and still prepare like you're going to play, because you never know when the next opportunity might come around.
And everybody talks about that, George, about the teacher and the pupil. But here's the deal. If you're the starter, you're trying to get prepared to play. It's the backup's job, and it's the young guy's job. You gotta learn. You gotta watch what he's doing. He's not going to go. Maybe sometimes they go out of their way, but like, I'm trying to get ready for a game. If I'm the starter, I'm trying to get all the reps. I'm trying to do so it's his job. He's got to learn. Maybe you teach him how to be professional, but it's his job that, hey, if something does happen to me, you've got to figure this out, and you've got to learn by watching me and see how I do it. But sometimes when that happened, I just don't see that everybody talks about that teacher pupil thing. But like, now if there's an older guy that hey, it's just like what happened to Kirk Cousins with Michael Penix down in Atlanta. The guy was praying before the game with him, and I'm sure he wishes him well, because Kirk Cousins has pretty much done everything in this other than win a Super Bowl that you can do. But when you get a situation like that, yeah, now you can teach a young guy. But if you're the starter, man, it's hard to backtrack and say, hey, I'm going to help you. You better learn by watching me.
Okay, both of you give me a yes or no before the break. If Kirk Cousins is willing, would you sign him here? Terry?
Yes, if you don't draft a quarterback, absolutely. I think I'd give him a shot.
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. That appeared to be a unanimous 2-0 vote of yes.
See, and I think he doesn't have, just like what I just told you about Michael Penix, I don't think Kirk Cousins has an ego anymore. I don't know if he ever had one, but I think he's willing to help. I think he understands where he's at in his career, and I think he's that guy that would – I don't know if Derek Carr is that way, because Derek Carr's still got some years left, but I think Kirk Cousins is in that way. If he can come in and you can put some people around him and he can make some things happen early on in the season and he can teach a guy, I think he's more willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a Joe Flacco type situation, a guy
correct,
who's 39, 40 years old, to say, okay, well, Joe knows that his best days are behind him, and he's willing to do this. I don't think you're looking at a guy like Kelly said, like a Derek Carr, who's going to want to come in here and be the starter. And even if he is a bridge quarterback, he's going to want to show that he's got what it takes still to lead a team and to, if not get another contract here, get another opportunity somewhere else in a couple of years.
Okay, after the break, former Titan wide receiver Derrick Mason will join us. We will take your Titan phone calls starting around 4:25. If you want to go ahead and get in now, that's fine. Do it at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. We'll go to the break. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us, because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone.
You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3. Choose option 3 or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Hey, it's Jake Lyman. Vandy women's basketball is on the road for the first time in SEC play, facing Ole Miss in Oxford on Thursday night. I'll have the call pregame at 6:15.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, we are back as we continue our Titans State of the Union. Former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb, Titan insider from Main Street Media Terry McCormick, and we now welcome former Titans wide receiver Derrick Mason, who joins us by way of phone. Derrick, I kind of toss this at you because it has finally dawned on me what the building issue is, and that is it's backstab central. We now have seen 3 or 4 different instances that somebody gets Amy's ear and all hell breaks loose. And as long as that's the case, this is never going to change.
No, it's not. And thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate it. I'm currently now at Trader Joe's because there seems to be an apocalypse coming this Friday. So everybody's trying to gather up on a bunch of stuff. So with that being said, yeah, that's the way it seems. It seems like, you know, as many people have put it, it seems like a episode of Game of Thrones where one guy is consistently picking off everyone. You bring him in and, you know, lo and behold, you end up being the guy that they end up they end up keeping, and then you choose to fire the guy that brought you in. So it just seems like a cluster to me. This whole outfit, it seems like a circus, and I didn't want to believe that. I really didn't, because this is a franchise that gave me an opportunity in '97 to become the pro that I ultimately became. So I didn't want to think, you know, negatively about the franchise. Did I want them to win? Absolutely. Was I frustrated? Absolutely. But I've never thought again that the franchise that I've known for close to 30 years would end up being a circus. But that's what it's become. It's become a circus. It's become around the league. This may not be a job you want to take in regards to a GM, which, are you really the GM or are you just GM by title? So it'd be interesting to see where this thing go. I hope it does work out, guys. I hope it does work out, because if it doesn't, it's just going to be something else added to the list of things already going on wrong with this team. And this just doesn't date back to this year. We can go all the way back to Floyd and Jeff. We can go back to those days. And more recently, John Robinson and Mike Vrabel. We can go back to those days. So there just seems to be a lot of backstabbing to move and position themselves, or people positioning themselves within the organization. And it seems like Amy is aloof to all of it. Like as long as you get to her first, as long as you grab that ear first, you're good. But if you don't grab that ear first, or if you're not in the business of playing that game, then you're going to be left out. Rabel wasn't in the business of playing that game. Rand Carthon seemed to be not in the business of playing that game. But Brinkert sure enough is in the business of playing the game of strategically moving him and placing himself in a position to ultimately run the team. And congratulations, you run the team now. And I hope it does work. But if it doesn't, I mean, they're going to keep on doing this over and over and over again. And players, you've seen this for the longest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look, it has hit me on this one that it's just backstab central. Derrick, is the real answer to bring somebody in, and I'm not talking about Burke Nihill. Burke Nihill doesn't know a damn thing about NFL football other than he knows how to jack up PSL prices on people that have supported this team for a quarter of a century. Is the answer to bring in somebody who has enough power to tell her, listen, go sit on a horse somewhere out in San Mateo, stay the hell out of here, I'm running the ship?
Well, she needs to clear house. That's what she needs to do. Because listen, if you don't clear house, you're going to continue to have this happen. If you don't clear house, just like, listen, I'm not upset that they fired Rand Carthon. They did what they felt they needed to do based upon the record. I'm just speaking strictly black and white here. And I'm not talking about anything else, about what happened in the building, what he supposedly did or what he supposedly didn't do. You didn't win enough games. So you want to fire him? Go ahead. But they were all a part of this. That's the way they made it seem to everybody at the beginning of the year. We're in this together. We are all on the same accord. But then when the stuff hits the fan, all of a sudden people have positioned themselves to not be a part of it now. My thing with Amy was get rid of everybody and start over, because if you don't, you're going to continue to have this backstabbing that you're having now. It didn't stop when you fired John Robinson, and it continues. And it's not going to stop unless you clear everybody out and start over and hire everybody properly. Do it in the proper order, because we all know if you don't do things in a proper order, eventually it will show itself.
Derrick, you probably are closer to this than any of us, having played there. Who has her ear, or is it simply a flavor of the month that goes from Vrabel to Robinson to Brinker to who the hell knows? What is the story there?
Nobody knows. And that's what everybody is trying to figure out. Willie asked that question today on air, and Willie's been asking that question for the last, almost a year. Like, who has her ear? We know who had her dad's ear. That was Underwood. We don't know who she's talking to, who she's consulting with. It seems like whoever gets to her first, that's who gets her ear. And whoever explains it to her in a way that she can understand and make it look good, then that's who has her ear. Again, maybe Vrabel wasn't in the business of playing that game to that extent. Maybe Rand wasn't in the business to play that game to that extent. But there seems to be a lot of stuff going on that has now shown it now has reared its ugly head in this situation. So right now, I guess Brinker has her ear. I don't know who else in that building. Bert Nihill, maybe, but it's come out that Bert Nihill, up until a week ago, he was in favor of keeping Rand. He was fighting for Rand. So if you were fighting for Rand, up until like a week ago or the first of the year, then who helped you change your mind? That's the person that has her ear. It's not about if Bert Nihill doesn't have her ear. Because obviously he was on board with keeping Rand. So who has your ear? Nobody knows. We can assume Brinker does, because it seems like he's the one guy that has insulated himself. But who knows?
Kelly, Terry, if you've got anything you want to get with Derrick on, do it now. Those of you who are out there listening to this, go ahead and get in on the lines at 615 553-0933. We'll begin the phone calls, and I guess, Billy, the text messages as well in about 4 minutes. Y'all go.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Derrick, one of the things that, seems to be, and, on the point that you made about, people having her ear, is how quickly that she can be triggered and make impulsive moves, how quickly you can lose her ear once somebody else gets in charge. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like that even her father, Bud Adams, was more patient than she has become in this deal, because she has moved quickly from Wisenhunt to Malarkey to Robinson to Vrabel to Carthon and now to Brinker. And it's a revolving door that never seems to end. And it can be triggered in a moment's notice. Like John Robinson got fired 2 days after A.J. Brown embarrassed them after they had traded him that previous spring. And so it seems like that if you're winning, you can mask the dysfunction, but the losing seems to really make it, quicken up and decisions come in a hurry, it feels like. Is that what you feel like?
Seem like she has much patience. Okay. Yes, she may have shown a little patience when it came to John Robinson and his bunch, but we know she didn't show much patience when it came to Malarkey, even though he led her to a playoff in a winning season. She didn't show much patience there. She didn't show much patience after firing John Robinson and retaining Vrabel. She didn't show much patience there. She didn't show much patience in Rand Carthon and him being able to do the job, knowing, Holcomb, that this roster was depleted of talent. I mean, depleted of talent. So she didn't show any patience there. I don't know if she will ever show patience, because the minute you start losing, it seems like she's going to be trying to exit you out of the building, or whoever is going to try to exit you out of the building in this situation, because it's happened more than once. That's why I said, if this was an isolated incident, then okay. But this hasn't been an isolated incident.
D-Mace, if you're a general manager and they're looking for a general manager, obviously, but if you're in consideration, which I think it's going to be hard, and you actually talked about that earlier, it's going to be hard because you didn't pick this coach. So are you going to have time? So if you're a general manager and you're coming in to interview, what are you asking her?
That's a great question, because we had that same type of question the other day. Like, what would be sort of your question to Amy if you indeed were going to take it down? My first question would be, honestly, like, why did you choose to, run through 2 to 3 GMs and coaches over the last 3 or 4 years? Why isn't there any stability? And if so, will I get an opportunity based upon the way this roster looks? Will I get a true opportunity to build this roster? And am I building it, or am I just GM by title? That would be my first answer. That would be my first question to Amy, because if she doesn't answer that question correctly, then I don't need to take the job.
Speaking of which, what must Brian Callahan be thinking right now?
What have I got myself into is what he's thinking.
Yeah. Well, like I told you guys yesterday, if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm not on board with a rookie quarterback, because most rookie quarterbacks are not going to lead you to very many wins, especially with the shape that this roster's in. And, if this team wins 3 or 4 games next year with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, somebody else is going to be developing them in 2026. So if I'm Brian Callahan, I'm going the safe route and trying to save my job by getting up to 7 or 8 wins.
D-Mace, let me ask you another question, because you're close to the organization. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
D-Mace. So what would you do if is Brian Callahan the guy for the job? Is he a good leader? Like you're around that stuff. You understand it. You've been around this place a long time. What do you think of him as a coach?
What I understand is this, and you learned a lot about a coach and his coaching methods and how well he connect with players. Not when you're winning. You don't figure that out when you're winning because everybody's happy and it's kumbaya and everybody's doing whatever. It's like, okay, we're winning. So yeah, I may not say anything about all of this stuff. It's when you lose. It's when you start to lose. Then that's the true measure of what you're building as a head coach and how connected you are to the players. I think Brian Callahan stayed connected to his players. I think they continue to play for him now. Were they talented? No, they were not. But they continue to play hard for him. Were they going to beat the Houston Texans? No way, no how were they going to beat the Houston Texans. But that team continued to play hard, even when they know they were completely out of the playoffs. So I think Brian Callahan has what it takes to be a head coach, but it's going to take time. This roster was depleted of talent. And here's the part that Brian Callahan needs to be concerned about, and he needs to always think about this. Brinken already said he gave his, what we're looking for, and this is our mission, and this is who we want. This is how we're going to build the team, through the draft and develop. Well, every GM says that. So you're not saying anything new that the GM in Chicago didn't say last year, or the GM in Washington didn't say last year. You just regurgitated all of that stuff and spit it out. To those that don't know, they think great. He said something great. But in actuality, Brian Callahan needs to be wary because he said in those remarks, we want guys that can play early. We want our young guys to play early, our rookies to play early. Holcomb, what happens when rookies play early? What typically happens to your team when you got a bunch of young guys playing early?
It ain't very good. That's for sure.
Exactly. You're losing. You are losing. So Brian Callahan better go out and get him a veteran quarterback. Because if he allows Brinker to say, we're going to draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, and they're going to play right away, you might as well send in your resignation papers.
That's right.
Because you're not going to be a good team. Not to say you're going to be horrible, but you're not going to be a good team because this roster is depleted of talent on the younger side. They have some talent, but they are nowhere near the talent. They don't have enough talent to compete consistently each and every week. So Brian Callahan needs to watch his back in a situation like this. If he's going to go out, if I'm him, I'm going out with my quarterback, my veteran quarterback, because unless this guy comes in here and wows everybody, but if there's some apprehension on him, I'm playing my veteran guy. So I'm going out and get me a veteran guy that can win football games. Because if I'm going to lose my job, it's going to be with the guy that I wanted, that I thought was going to win football games, not with a young guy that I know more than likely we're going to struggle with. Even if I'm developing him as a quarterback, because they have shown you they do not show patience at all.
Derrick, I got one more for you. You played a lot of years here. You played a lot of years with the Baltimore Ravens, who are one of the most stable and structured organizations in the NFL. Tell me what the major differences were when you got to Baltimore that you noticed that were different from how the Titans are run.
Everybody's on the same page. Everybody, from the owner to the guy and from the equipment guy. They will tell you everybody is on the same page. Everybody is doing exactly what is best for the organization. That's why you can have Ozzie for so long and then transition to DeCosta. Why? Because DeCosta never tried to stab Ozzie in the back. DeCosta understood, like, listen, Ozzie's the guy. I'm going to learn from him. And when my time comes, that's when I'm going to show what I can do. And that happened. And the owner, the first message when I got there, the owner said, we are going to do everything possible to make sure you, Derrick, have what you need, to make sure you, Derrick, don't have to, try to go get some things from other places. Like, okay, you need a doctor, we're going to get you a doctor. You need a nutritionist, we're going to make sure we have. You need this, we're going to make sure everything that our players need, they have in that building. Everybody understands that. This ain't, no, we're not going to do it for this guy or this. No. Whatever we do is going to be for the organization. That's how we're going to help our players. And everybody knew that. It doesn't seem like that's over at Titan Land. It's not ran that way.
Eric?
When I went to the Jets, this was so funny. This tells you how much respect GMs around the league had or still have with Ozzie. When I went there to the Jets, and who was there? The guy that's on television now.
Lombardi?
No,
not Lombardi.
Rex
Not
Ryan.
Lombardi. No, we're talking about the GM, Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum, that's it. Yeah.
Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum would come up to me and was like, is this what Ozzie used to do? Because he would always be in the treadmill working. Because Ozzie would do that all the time. Ozzie was religiously, and so was Floyd, we all know. But Ozzie was religiously on that treadmill at a certain time of the day, working and working out. And I would see Tannenbaum, and first thing, Ozzie's doing it. Is Ozzie doing this? I know Ozzie's doing this. It's like, that's great because you have a lot of, respect for Ozzie. So, hey, if Ozzie's doing it, I'm doing it, then great. Are people trying to mimic what the Tennessee Titans are doing? I'm not sure that's the case.
No. Eric on line 1. Say hello to the panel.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
We're good.
Doing good.
Hey guys, listen, this is the thing that's so frustrating about this whole thing, guys. Now, it's going to be our third general manager in 4 years. We've had a firing in each of the last 3 years. First, John Robinson, then Vrabel, and now Rand Carthon. And like you said, and you're right, now Brian kind of has to be wondering if I'm next. Even if he doubles his win and gets to 6 wins, he still may be fired with all this. It's just, and it's frustrating because we went to where, I guess it was 5 years ago, we had one of the best, if not the best offensive line in the NFL to one of the worst. But here, to me, guys, is the most disheartening thing. Before this season, guys, we wouldn't have been considered the worst franchise in the NFL. You would have rattled off like the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders, the Saints. Some would have even said probably the Chicago Bears. But now you can definitely say with this clown show, we are now the worst NFL organization in football and a laughing stock now. And we're making headlines for the wrong reasons. And now everybody's laughing at us and wondering what we're going to make the smart pick. I don't know if Amy Armstrong's listening. I talked to her one time in an event. She told me she recognized my voice from listening to calling shows. So she apparently listened to calling show. And I'm wondering if listening to some of the fans, she got this idea. But it's just so frustrating, all the stuff that's happening. Guys, I'll get off. Y'all take care and we'll talk again soon.
She needs to go back to riding horses.
George.
Look,
she
needs to get out of the business of listening to all the whispering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's listen, everybody has someone that they lean on. Everybody has someone that they sort of bounce things off of. Everybody has them, whether it's a best friend, a spouse, a girlfriend, boyfriend, mentor, whatever. Everybody has that one person. It's like, who's that one person for Amy? And if it is, how long has this person had her ear? That's what it's like, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. And is it like a Underwood, was for Bud? Or is it someone completely trying to strategically put themselves in position to have power over everything? So.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the break on that. Derrick, this is a good time for you to make sure you have all the bread and milk you need, but get ready 4 minutes from now because we'll be back at it, okay?
Hey, Derrick, offer to sign a few autographs. Maybe they'll let you move ahead of them in the line.
Hey, listen. Now I'm at Kroger. Now I left Trader Joe's. Now I'm at Kroger.
Well, we look forward to Publix isn't far away. I'm sure you can get a 3-for-1 before it's over. Derrick, hang with us. We're gonna go to the break. I'm surprised that more of you have not gotten in on the lines on this, but let's say they're wide open. And so I want to take a few in this next segment. 615-553-0933. That's our number. 615-553-0933. You got questions, you got opinions. I want to hear it all next on 94.9 The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC. Get started today. Member FDIC.
You're two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, our final segment of Titans State of the Union with former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb, Titan insider and Main Street Media's Terry McCormick, and former Titan wide receiver Derrick Mason, who is out there battling, grinding, looking for milk, looking for bread. The storm of the century is coming. Derrick, where are you now?
I put in my driveway. See, when the kids are at the house, that's why I chose to go to the grocery store and everything else. If it was just me at the house, Plas, Terry, Holcomb, I'd have been like, listen, I can survive with what's in the refrigerator. I'm good. But when you have kids in the house, then you got to go get a whole bunch of stuff, because the last thing you want is some angry, hungry kids wanting to eat during a snowstorm.
Okay, that's a good tip. That's kind of a homeowner, a dad. These are good tips. Doesn't do anything for the Titans, but they're good tips.
No.
Do you all, the three of you, have any real hope that this is going to get better? Terry, I'll start with you.
Well, if you can improve the roster this offseason, and especially figure out the quarterback position, either via a draft pick or a veteran, it has a chance to get better. I think obviously it would get better quicker with the right veteran guy, or if Levis were to suddenly figure things out. But I think it can, but I'm not optimistic that it will immediately.
Kelly?
Are you talking about for the long haul, George? Are you talking about for next season?
You know, that's a fair question. I'm not sure when I asked it what I was thinking. So take it wherever you want.
My deal is this, and we've heard this before, George, and you've even said it. I'm not sure that ownership is in position. She's already shown, and they've already shown, and what they're doing in the front office right now, they've already shown that there's no stability in this place at all. And until that happens, I just don't think you're going to get anywhere with this owner. I really don't. It's, you know, and I've said it, D. Mace, that the best quarterback that y'all had is the late great Steve McNair. You got to play with him, but they have done nothing since then. Tannehill helped out a little bit, but they drafted Marcus Mariota. He never showed up. He had some good, maybe a few good years, or a few good plays, a few good games, and then they go to Jake Locker. There's nothing happening there. So I just don't think that from the top down that this thing's going to get any better until the ownership changes. That's just me.
I guess I'm in agreement with everybody on this one. Do I want them to get better? Obviously, I do. Do I think they have a chance at improving this year? Yeah, there's a chance. There is some improvement. But what would be classified as enough of improvement for this team? You know, it's, are you going to do the necessary things to make sure that one, you go out and get a quarterback? Because we all know, you know, Plas, Terry, Holcomb, you know, 50% of the battle is getting you a quarterback, a competent quarterback that can win games and ultimately uplift your franchise when guys are not, you know, performing at a level that they need to. Hopefully, a quarterback can uplift them and uplift the team and then still go out and win a game. So until they find one of those quarterbacks, I'm not sure. Because you're right, Plas, or Holcomb, you said it. They hadn't developed a quarterback since Steve McNair. I'm talking about a quarterback they drafted. I'm not talking about Ryan Tannehill or somebody that went out and got Mason Rudolph. Ryan Tannehill was developed before he got here. He played a little bit better once he got here. They haven't been able to develop a second contract quarterback since Steve McNair. Just think about that. Think about that, y'all. They haven't been able to develop a second contract quarterback since Steve McNair in 90. When did he get drafted?
95.
95? So they re-signed him in 2001, somewhere around there. So since then, they haven't been able to sign a quarterback they drafted to a second contract. That right there tells you there hasn't been stability with this franchise, like real stability with this franchise since the days of Floyd Reese and Jeff Fisher. That ended bad. The other relationships now we see ultimately they all ended bad. So can they get it together? The long picture, the long view of it, I'm sure they can if we're looking at it from the long view. Hell, people didn't think the Lions would get it together. They finally did. It took it 50 years, but they did it. So in the long view, yeah, the Titans can get it taken care of, but how long is it going to take? The short view, I don't know. I don't.
Okay, I want to toss this at all three of you. Here's poor Brian Callahan. First-year coach, nothing went right. Got a quarterback that's been kind of a spaz, not really locked into him anymore. And now all of a sudden he's got a picture where he's got to wonder, is my new boss a backstab? You know, who knows what the thought process is as he watches this. At some point, he has had a meeting with his father to say, Dad, what the hell do I do? This place is one flew over the cuckoo's nest. If you're his dad, what advice would you have given him?
The advice that I would give him right now, fellas, is if I'm his dad, listen, keep the main thing, and keep grinding. Keep your nose to the ground. Keep doing your work, because whatever happens, I mean, no matter what you do, if y'all are not winning, you are next. So continue to grind, do your thing, make sure you have every T crossed and every I dotted, especially when it comes to your coaching staff and what y'all doing. Make sure you are doing it in such a level that can't nobody ever question whether you're working hard or not. Keep your nose to the ground, because whatever decisions they're going to make it outside of you. They've already shown it. If I'm his dad, that's what I'm telling them. Keep your nose to the ground, son. Keep working hard. We'll figure it out. But if it doesn't, be prepared to be fired next year.
Kelly?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. You're a football coach. You got to worry about all that other stuff, but you're a football coach. You got to figure out what you're doing on the field, who can do what. You got to find a quarterback, but you got to just keep your head to the grindstone. Just keep going, because, hey, everybody in this business gets fired at some point. Bill Belichick just got fired a couple of years ago, and he won 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots and 2 with the New York Giants. Everybody gets fired. So at some point it's going to happen. Just do what you came to do, which is coach the football team, and do that to the best of your ability, and you can't worry about all the outside stuff.
Terry, doesn't he have to have a meeting with her and say,
Yes.
I need to know what the hell's what?
I think probably so. And my advice, to add on to what they've said is kind of, more of the same. Keep coaching as hard as you can go. Make sure that you get the most out of this team, so that if you do get fired, that somebody else will put on the tape when you go to apply for a job somewhere else and say, hey, this team might not have been very good, but Brian Callahan got everything out of it that he possibly could. He might be worth a chance with a situation somewhere else.
Okay, let me end it by saying, Derrick, thank you so much. It was so heartening to hear about your collection of milk and cookies and which stores you went to. I can't tell you how good that felt.
Well, thank you. It feels good from a dad standpoint that, hey, I still have an opportunity to do that. And my kids they're adults, but, I still got to take care of them while they're at the house. So it feels good as a dad that they still want me around to do some of these things.
I'm nominating you as Father of the Year. Kelly, do your kids still want you around?
I was about to say Father of the Year. He's going to have a nice competition with me if that's the case, because I've been the Father of the Year for about 10 years straight, George.
Wow. And of course, Terry's got to get some level of honorable mention. He took the child to a World Series game, spent his life savings.
Oh, wow.
It didn't do a damn bit of good. The Yankees got plowed.
They won the game I was at.
Yeah, well, you're right. They were inspired by that.
And then the other thing of this, George, is it's like I tell my daughter, she'll be 26 in May, and she still has me go change the oil, get the oil changed in her car and, get it serviced and doing all those sorts of things. I told her, I said, honey, you may have your own house and your own kids. I'm going to have to live to be 106 until you're completely independent.
Yeah, grow up at some point, gals. Let's go. You got to go do it yourself at some point.
Let's do it. Okay, guys, thank you all so much. Kelly, don't you go anywhere. Terry,
okay. Yes, sir.
See you soon. D. Mace,
All right.
Enjoy the milk.
Thank you, fellas. Y'all be safe tonight.
See you.
See you.
See ya.
Okay, we'll go to our final break. And when we come back, it may have once been a commitment to excellence. Last night, it had the Titans stamp of approval. No wins, 3 losses. None of them were close. It's embarrassing. We're back in a moment.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger repel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Wednesday. Time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Take a look at what happened last night, and not a great start to 2025.
Oh,
0-4.
Yeah. L.
Sorry, George.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
really,
sure
but
you are.
I'm going to tell you I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, Kelly, when you start losing, you become a little shook. You start asking yourself questions, will this work? Will this work? Because it's in your head.
Is that right?
So, a little bit. Tonight,
okay,
I am not willing to go back into the Southeastern Conference. It appears that I don't know a thing based on last night. So I'm not going there. I am instead going to the Atlantic Coast Conference, and I'll be taking the University of Miami Hurricanes, the U, at home against Florida State. Miami -1.5. What do you think?
Florida State basketball better than Florida State football? Do we know that?
Yeah. I mean, right now it is because the football's horrible.
Horrible.
So what do we got there, Billy? Florida State is 68th.
Yeah, they're 10-4, so they've already got more wins than the football team.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's not saying much.
That wasn't hard this year.
So tomorrow, Kelly, on the show, we hope to get a little bit of a Notre Dame Catholicism preview.
Oh gosh, I can't wait. I'll be sitting up at night tonight thinking about that.
We will crown an underdog champion tomorrow around 3:40.
That sucks as
Oh,
well.
yeah. And then at 4 o'clock,
I was in the lead. I was in the lead for a second, I think, for a quick second,
just barely.
Gosh.
And then at 4 o'clock, a debut of the College Basketball Insiders, Ron Bargatze and Lee Fowler. So a busy day on the show.
Your buddy,
Okay.
Coach B.
Coach B.
Coach B.
Kelly, go out and buy some groceries.
No, George. And George,
Yes.
make sure you get home safely after the Ivy League chaos that you're going to go to with Yale Harvard tonight.
No, that's not the case. I may go to the Belmont game. Either way,
Okay.
we'll see all of you tomorrow on 94.9 The Fan.